This video is on length conversions in the customary system. Now, as you learn, the customary system is what we use in the United States. And length only involves inches, feet, yards, and miles. So, if we're given yards, how do we find out how many feet that is? Or if we're given inches, how do we find out how many yards that is? So, how do we convert? Convert means go from one dimension to another. How do we convert units from one unit to another unit? And we start by using the measurement chart, and you got to show what you know. So, if you have a problem and it's talking about going from feet to inches, and it says, so how many feet, if you have 7 feet, how many inches is that? So this is like your solution. We can set this up as a ratio or as a proportion to solve. And so we put first what we know. We know, and you come over here, and it says feet, 1 foot, feet equals 12 inches. So we put that information here. 1 foot equals 12 inches. Now, we look at this relationship. We say, how do we get from 1 to 12? Well, it's times 12. Because every time we have 1 foot, we have 12 inches. Well, so if we have 7 feet, the same ratio, the same proportion exists. We would go times 12, and 8 times 12 is 84. 7 times 12 is 84. And so now we can say in 7 feet there's 84 inches. Now let's look at another one. Let's look at one going backwards. We've got inches to feet. And the question is, if you have 120 inches, how many feet is that? Okay? So I look at my conversion chart and I say, okay, I need to know inches, and inches is 12 in 1 foot. So now what's going on? How do I get from 12 to 1? Well, to go smaller, or to go to bigger units, I have to divide. Divide by 12. So whatever I do up here, I have to keep the same proportion and do down here. Divide by 12. And 120 divided by 12 is, of course, 10. So there's 10 feet. If you have 120 inches, you have 10 feet. So it looks the same. If you have 7 feet, you have 84 inches. If you have 10 feet, you have 120 inches. And so these proportions will always remain constant, and you keep looking at your chart. So let's look at feet to yards. Okay, so ultimately we want to know how many feet are in 15 yards. So what I have to do is I have to look at my conversion chart, because I don't always know this, and look at the basic. What do I know here? And it's 1 yard equals 3 feet. So this is 3 feet, 1 yard. And how do I get from here to here? Let's look at it from here to here, because we have this information. So 1 yard, 3 feet. So this is times 3. And so this has to be times 3. And 15 times 3 is 45. And let's see if that makes sense. I'm going to have more feet with fewer yards. So that makes sense. And that relationship, if I'm going from here to here, it's divide by 3. But since I had this information, it has to be multiplied by 3. And then if we look at miles to yards, so I need to look down here and I say, okay, 1 mile equals 1760 yards. Okay? And how do I get from 1 to 1760? I multiply by 1760. And whatever I do up here, I have to do down here. And so it's times 1760. Now I can't do that in my head. So I have to go 1760 times 6. Make sure that the right number's there. And I get 0, 36, 42, 45, and 10. So my answer is 10,560. And of course that makes sense because miles is a bigger dimension, and there's fewer of them. Yards, there's more of them, so this is going to get bigger. So I'm going to do 2 more of these, and then I want you to do the other 2 and see if you can't figure this out. And so I've got my measurement conversion here. So I've got 5 feet to inches. So what I'm comparing is inches to feet. And I've got 5 feet and blank inches. So I look at my conversion chart and it's feet and inches. So 1 foot, 12 inches. And so I look at this and I go, okay, how do I go from 1 to 12? Times 12. Times 12. So 5 times 12 is 60. So what I'm saying is that there are 60 inches in 5 feet. Now let's look at this one, because this one, it's like 2 conversions. And so I'm doing yards and inches. Now, I don't have anything on here that says yards to inches, but I know that 1 yard has 3 feet and 1 foot has 12 inches. So 3 times 12 is 36. So there's 36 inches in a yard. So 36 inches in 1 yard, and I've got 5 of those yards. So this is multiplied by 36. So 5 times 36 equals the number of inches. Well, I have to do that out. 36 times 5, 180. So it's 180 inches, and that makes sense because yards is a bigger dimension, smaller number, and goes to inches. So now pause and do these 2 problems, and then whenever you come back, you can check your answers. Okay, so we showed yards to feet, 1 yard to 3 feet. So 3 yards would be 9 feet, times 3 times 3. This one was a little bit more complicated because it said miles to feet, and there's no miles to feet. It's miles to yards. So to find out the feet, it's the yards times 3 is here. And so the total amount coming across is times 5280. And so 3 times 5280 is 15,840. Okay, so now you're going to see them in word problems. A bookcase is 59 inches tall. The distance between the top of the bookcase and the ceiling is about 4 feet. Which is closest to the distance between the floor and the ceiling? So with this, I'm going to draw a picture. And here's the bookcase. And it is 59 inches tall. And then the distance before the ceiling is 4 feet tall. And I need to know the distance from the floor all the way up. So it's going to be 4 feet plus the inches turned to feet, because my answer is in feet. Well, it's not going to be 4, and I think that 59 inches is more than a foot, so it's somewhere between 8 and 9. Well, let's do our conversion chart to look at it. So we've got 12 inches equals 1 foot. So we've got inches to feet. And we have 59 inches. How many feet? So to get from 12 to 1, we've got to divide by 12. And 59 divided by 12 is roughly 5. Because 5 times 12 is 60. So we're going to go with 5. So 5 plus this 4, so this equals 5 feet. And a lot of times with this measurement, it's really just estimating or getting a close approximate to, a close number to. So 5 plus 4 is 9, and we rolled out 8. See these problems where you have a shape and it's going to say estimate or find the perimeter or the area. So we're looking for area, and this shape is, we're going to start by specifying the shape. It's a rectangle, and then we're going to look on our formula chart and we're going to see what the area of a rectangle, what the formula is, and that equals area equals length times width. So I'm going to multiply these numbers together. Now you might notice they're both fractions, and you don't know how to multiply fractions. But you do know how to estimate and then multiply. So you have to go and look at each fraction and estimate it. So 7/8 is almost a whole. So it would be 7 plus 1 equals 8. And 3 1/2, we said half is like 5 and it rounds up. So 3 1/2 would round up to 4. So now all we're saying is that the area of this rectangle is area equals 8 times 4. Okay? And the area the area equals 32. And I'm going to label it because it's feet, and I need to label that. Now that's finding the estimate of the area of this. Now the next part of the question asks, convert the feet to inches. So I have to look at my chart for conversions, and I don't have it on this page, so I'll just tell you. So we're in feet, so feet to inches. And 1 foot has 12 inches. We know that. Okay? And so we have 32 feet. And so we go, how do we get from 1 to 12 times 12? How do we get in 32 times 12 is this. So have to do a little math here, and with a lot of these, the math really comes into play, and we're really making you work that math and work that multiplication skills. So I've got 32 times 12. So that's 4 and 6, and then bring down the 0. 1 times 2 is 2, and then 3, and add 384. So my answer is area equals 384, and now I'm in inches. So it's a lot of work for one problem, but you're going to be expected to do this, and you're going to be expected to do it for different shapes. So you always have to use that formula. You have to estimate. You have to find it in one unit. You have to convert it to another unit. So it's taking everything that you've learned. It's taking estimating fractions, even adding fractions, adding decimals, estimating decimals, and rounding decimals, and putting it all together. And then we have measurement, we have area, we have perimeter, and we have converting dimensions, units. So here's the homework check. Go ahead and do these problems. The first one is straight. Just make a proportion and find out the answer. Number 2 is the problem like the rectangle example, where you have to estimate the area and then convert from yards to feet. And then number 3 is like the bookcase example, where you have feet and yards and you have to make it all yards and find out the total.